Hello, Control Alt listeners, and welcome to another exciting episode of Control Alt Listen. Today, I'm privileged to have an esteemed guest, Mr. Faisal Al Ali, who is the Group CIO of Gargash Group in the UAE. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
So, Faisal, tell me, you've been at Gargash Group for 6 odd years. Can you tell us a little bit about the group? Because I think for most of us outside of the Middle East, we're not really familiar with some of the brands that you work with and what you actually do.
Absolutely. So let's go a little bit of a history about the Gargash Group. We've been in business for a little over 100 years. Within the Middle East, within the United Arab Emirates, we go across multiple sectors, automotive being the largest. We've got financial services, we've got real estate, and we've always got a lot of other fledgling businesses that we look after. So, call it the fourth vertical or the fourth dimension, if you may.
Yeah.
Among some of the bigger known names that we've got, we're most associated with the automotive distribution for Daimler, Alfa Romeo, GAC, and many, many other brands.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. So, the thing that piqued my interest is you're a group CIO. You look after many, many different verticals. And there's AI is the prolific conversation on everybody's minds at the moment. So I wanted to talk a little bit about AI and the ethics and governance around AI. So from your perspective, can you tell me how can companies establish ethical guidelines and governance structures around AI?
Well, that's a great question. And I'll just kind of take a sidestep on this one before we do that. So let me just ask a rhetorical over here. Yes, we all talk about artificial intelligence, but at the end of the day, what is real intelligence? All intelligence that we as human beings possess is learned through experiences over our life. So were we naturally born with it? No, it's a learned behavior. That's exactly what's happening in the computer world today. It's a learned behavior that's coming in as intelligence. We're reaching that point. So what is the ethical and governance boundaries that is set on human thinking within the organization?
Yeah.
Intelligence is intelligence, learned behavior is learned behavior. Your boundaries that you should set should be no different from a human being that you would set on a computer. Why would a computer not be allowed to talk certain things, whereas their human counterpart can?
That's a great perspective. I don't think anybody really gave me that perspective before, because from my side, I never looked at it as artificial intelligence. I kind of looked at it as assisted intelligence, because human beings by nature are intelligent. So, the same structures that we have today should be something that are considered at the baseline of where we're starting off. So in your view, as a group CIO, how does AI impact individual data privacy and protection?
Wow.
I'm talking about from the perspective of it's invasive by nature, because I think,
Yes, very much so.
You have to input the information to get the right insight. And
very much so. So let's take a couple of steps down this path. AI is not just AI, right? It's a collection of services. Just like in human beings, it's a collection of senses that creates that intelligence within us. Computers are no different. You've got the sight, or the vision, you've got the memory, you've got your algorithms. All of these behaviors put together are now starting to create what we call AI. The buzz around today is the generative AI, the capability to create, right, which the humans possess for millennia. And now here comes, probably the first creation that could potentially create something out of nothing, or is able to have an idea. It can't do that without a very large store of information. And that then starts to create a problem. Today we are in what would be the wild, wild west of artificial intelligence, where we, without thinking or without a thought, just kind of say, here's my presentation, make it better. Or here's something and tell me about it. Or I want to go there and give me an itinerary for something. Without realizing that you're actually sending all of that data, all of that IP, all of that strategy out into the cloud. And it only becomes smarter by learning from what you've got. So others will benefit from what you're submitting into it. Now, the collective will be much greater, but at what cost?
Yeah, I think as the younger generations are into instant gratification, I think the generative AI age is feeding into that instant gratification, because I think it would take a human that much longer to gather that sort of information in today's world where it's instantaneous with generative AI.
Absolutely. And I use myself as an example of this. And I know people are going to, and I know some specific people are going to come back to me and say, oh, really? But very importantly, a few days ago, I was sitting in my office. It was a Friday. And typically on Fridays, I would have my team meeting, my larger team meeting. And then after that, there are a few tasks lists that are submitted to me. I would review them and provide them comments on what I need, what I want changed. And then they would go around the day, and by Monday or Tuesday, we'd have that sorted out, and I'd have a very nice report to look at. Friday morning, I was sitting in my office, and, my high school buddies, we have a chat group.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a chat broke out about a couple of travel plans, and, I was just on it. And we are in all sorts of different time zones, and my friend go, aren't you at work? And I go, yes, I am. And they're like, so why are you chatting with us right now? If I remember, Fridays are very busy for you. And I said, yes, they were. What do you mean they were? And I said, well, I'm now looking at AI assistant technologies, and the reports that have come in, I've thrown them in there. They've compared everything. They've come back with an analysis of the report, and I've already given my team the feedback. Something that used to take a day and a half is now done in minutes for me. So now I'm ready to do a lot more, a lot faster. Yeah, I've got more time to do more stuff.
I guess that is so important because early on I was talking to some people, and part of the conversation was, leveraging generative AI to remove repetitive and mundane tasks, which is exactly what you're saying, which allows you as an individual to focus more on the things that matter.
Now, I would take offense to that. My thought and analytical process is not mundane.
Okay.
So it's not just for mundane tasks. It is for strategic tasks. It is for analytical tasks. It's not just for repetitive tasks.
Sure.
Yes, looking at a report is repetitive, but putting the analysis out of that and giving an input back to my team from that, definitely not that. And I just said that so that people, on the other side, when they're viewing this, would understand that it's not just about a robotic process.
Yes, I agree. So when we look at the collecting, storing, and leveraging data insights for AI, what are some of the ethical considerations you believe we should have?
So look, going back to, what are the ethical boundaries you would put on your thought process? It should be exactly the same.
Okay.
An ethos or an ethic that does not apply to you as a person within your organization should similarly apply to AI. The difference being us as human beings tend to find more creative ways of going around those boundaries.
Yeah.
Some of us are blatant enough to break those boundaries, and unfortunately, and I'm going to use an unfortunate case here, some people take bribes, for example, different parts of the world. Some parts of the world it is acceptable, even though not really allowed, but acceptable. Everybody knows in certain countries a lot of people do it. That's okay. But with the AI, obviously there's no bribing it.
Yeah.
Right. So what kind of ethical boundaries do you put that you don't put around humans? The thinking, the generation becomes more dangerous. Again, a simple example I'll give, and I hope people don't get offended by this one, right, is I could take a religious text, right, and input that. And I say, now act as an author or creator of this text and generate some new lines that support my theory of A, B, and C.
Yes, that's definitely one of the topics when we talk about bias of information, right? And I think it's a key consideration.
It's not just a bias. It's misinformation. It's creation of misinformation, deliberate misinformation, propaganda.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, going to be very real as we move forward. The capability to sift through what was genuine versus what was not. And how do you stop this AI or your ethical engines, and what boundaries do you put around it? Give you an example, right? With all the automation and AIs around, I would now have the capability to potentially go out onto various websites and scrape a lot of data about my competitors that they may not even know exists out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then use it to my advantage. Is that ethical or unethical? Now, who defines that, and who defines that boundary?
Yeah, I guess, and that's why this topic was something I was so passionate about, because the line between ethics and AI is, at the moment, I think, blur and a little bit gray. And I think we should be looking as institutions, organizations, and individuals ourselves in terms of defining what that is. And I really like what you said. Ethics is a human thing. And, the same ethics and principles we apply as humans should be the foundational structure that we put together in place.
Absolutely.
In closing, I really want to thank you for your time, but I have a last question for you.
Sure.
What are some of the potential social impacts of AI, both positive and negative?
Well, so AI, I think, is here to stay with us. The positive impact of AI is going to be something that we are going to see in the next few generations. And the psychology, the evolution of human psyche that's going to come about. It's going to be all about how these agents form your new teams, your new team structures, and how do you interact with them? And how do you associate with them? Because you're going to have some humans in your team and you're going to have some robotic agents in your team.
Yeah.
And those robotic agents are nothing more than the extension of your thought processes or the extension of the thought processes of your team members.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're possibly their possible best version. And that's what they're trying to create over here. Come to the flip side of it, and I'm talking purely from an enterprise perspective. When I'm a good ethical organization, my teams are going to be good ethical teams with good ethical AI coming through. But when I'm a bad actor,
they become bad actors.
You are now multiplying bad actors.
Yeah. Well, Faisal, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights and input into this topic. And I look forward to keeping up to date with you in terms of some of the things you're doing around this and maybe possibly having you back on the show.
My pleasure. Anytime you guys would like to have me back on.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us for another insightful episode of CTRL ALT Listen. We look forward to welcoming you back for future episodes. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date on what's next. Thank you.